Okay, so today we're still going over in Module 9, but this time we're going to be proving a figure is a parallelogram. So the objective is students will determine if a figure is a parallelogram. So we get into example 1. So here they're asking you, is this figure a parallelogram? So what we're looking for here is, based on the information they give us, we see angle A is opposite angle C. And since those have one angle mark, that means that angle A is congruent to angle C. Then we also look at the other opposite angles, angle D and angle B. Those are also congruent based on the angle marks. So here we say, since opposite angles are congruent, figure ABCD is a parallelogram. Okay, now example 2. Okay, so in this figure, they give us some diagonals here in the middle. So if you look at them, if you look at this diagonal, it says AE and EC are congruent to each other. So we say that first. AE congruent to EC. And then we also look at the other segment. It says DE and EB are also congruent to each other. And since D, let me see here. Since you look at point E right here, is in the middle of both. And we say that this one, point E, it bisects. Okay, so we say it's a bisector, means it cuts both of these in half. So we say diagonals bisect each other. So because that happens, we say ABCD is a parallelogram. Okay, so example 3. This time we're looking for is the following a parallelogram. So if you look at the markings they give us in the shape, it says that AB and DC are congruent to each other. And again, they're opposite from each other. Okay. So here we say AB and DC are congruent to each other and they're opposite. And then we look at the other segments to give us as well. So we say DA and CB are also congruent. And if you look at, they're opposite each other. So here we say opposite sides are congruent. And since that's true, we say ABCD is a parallelogram. Okay, let's look at example 4. Here's them asking us, is the following shape a parallelogram? So we're looking at, look at the information they give us. If you look at AB and DC, they both have these arrow marks. Those arrow marks means parallel. So we're going to say here that AB is parallel to DC. So that little mark there, that means parallel. Okay. And if you look at more information here, they also tell us that two more sides are parallel. So if you look at DA and CB, those two are also parallel. So what this means is that opposite sides are parallel, which means that ABCD, that shape ABCD, is a parallelogram. Okay, now let's look at example 5. So in this case, they give us this shape here, ABCD. But if you look at the information they give us right now, it says AB and DC. Well, the arrows here mean that they're parallel. But if you look at the length of each of them, one is bigger than the other. So we say that the AB does not equal DC. They're not congruent to each other. Okay, now they give you some other information over here. Look at DA and look at BC. That one mark means that they're congruent, but there's no arrow mark there, which means that they're not parallel to each other. So we say here, opposite sides are not congruent and parallel. That means that ABCD is not a parallelogram. So here we say AB is parallel to DC, but AB does not equal DC. So then we said ADA and CB are congruent to each other, but they're not parallel. So here we say opposite sides are not congruent and parallel, so ABCD is not a parallelogram. On example 6, if we look at the angles, opposite angles here, if you look at angle B and angle D, those are not equal to each other. And then we look at the other two opposite angles, A and C. Again, these are not equal to each other. So here we say that since B is not equal to D, A does not equal C, opposite angles are not congruent, which means that ABCD is not a parallelogram. Okay, so we're done with today's notes.